Na wewe kama ni mwenye klabu ukiita huyo mtu, customers wahame waende pahali ingine. Tena ile mtandao you unfollow them. Si ndio? You unfollow them. Because wameenda kuchukua shilingi 50,000. Na pahali wanaenda entertainment, wale watu wameenda pale kwa sababu akili imechemuka kwa sababu ile Kasongo ametusumbua. So you unfollow those artists, those who don't apologize to the community. Nimefurahi sana nimeona msanii mmoja alienda kushtaki mimi pale kwa Mr. Yesa. Ati mimi nilisema siwezi kumpatia tikiti ya DCP. It is true. Sasa mtu ya standard 2 atapewa tikiti akawakilisha nani bunge? Lazima akidikon tubadilishe quality ya viongozi wetu kama watu ya mlima. Kwa sababu hapo ndio tumeshindwa. Na nilifurahi sana huyu kijana ni muibaji, ati alikuwa anataka kuwa ati mjumbe, ati asubukia. Mtu hata hajui hata neno moja ya Kiingereza, hata ya Kiswahili. Ati ya kuwa MP kwa chama ya DCP. Inawezekana? The quality of leaders ambaye watatoka kwa hii chama, hii watu ya mlima, mutaniheshimu miaka 30.
Well, the statement by Gachagua seems to have rubbed the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki wrong, and as he has now shown his support for the Kikuyu musician who visited his current residence.
Nimeona watu wengine wameanza kuwatukana ati walikuja kuona Deputy President wa Kenya. Hiko makosa gani wanamuziki kukuja kulilia serikali ndio haki yao isipotee na wasiibiwe intellectual property yao? Iko makosa kweli? Kwani iko Deputy President mwingine? Mimi nitaendelea kutetea hao watu, wapende wasipende, mimi natetea hao watu. Time is over. Kuna wakati sasa wa kusifu ati unasifu sijui nani, unasifu Kindiki, unasifu mwingine. Stop. Paka kwanza haki yenu ipatikane. Paka tuwatetee kwanza mpate haki yenu na jasho yenu. Ukitaka tuheshimiane, heshima ni mara mbili. Utuheshimu tukuheshimu. Usipotuheshimu my friend, tutakanyang'ana na wewe my friend. Naona watu wengine wanaongea na madharau. Unatisha nani? Naona watu wengine wanatutisha. Mimi ukiniangalia hivi ni mtu ya kutishwa na watu? Tuheshimiane bwana. Tuheshimiane. Na wanamuziki walikuja 50, mimi naita wanamuziki 500 wakuje pale Karen. Tujua utafanya nini? Ati unasema umeamrisha wananchi wasisikize nyimbo. Unaamrisha kama nani? Unaamrisha kama nani? Tuheshimiane my friend. Mimi ni mtu ya heshima, lakini my friend, if you come within shooting range, we will deal with you. Ukiona tuko slow hivi na tuko wapole, sio ati sisi ni watu pushovers. And don't lecture us. Don't lecture us. We are not your kids. Enda ukapeane lecture huko kwako. Ile bidii tunataka tuona kiongozi wote wakiweka. Viongozi wote waweke bidii ya kusaidia wananchi. Sio kulecture watu kama wewe ni Mungu. Una lecture kila mtu, una lecture mwananchi, una lecture kiongozi, una lecture mwanamuziki. My friend, go and lecture in your home.
Now, you know, Paul, I think in Corinthians, when he's speaking, I don't know whether it's 1st or 2nd Corinthians, he says, the kingdom of God is not just words, but it's power. Now, if I can bring this into this scenario, Rigiji told guys to unsubscribe from certain musicians from the region. One particular musician, who's the biggest name, I think is called Samido, lost 380,000. I mean, over 380,000 people unsubscribed from him. He had to apologize. Now that is power. Elsewhere, President William Ruto has reiterated his commitment to transform the nation despite harsh censures from his detractors. Speaking during a church service in Kibra, Nairobi, President William Ruto vowed not to tire of working towards realizing his ambitious plans that he has set to change the lives of the people. He added that censures from his political nemesis will not stop him from executing his mandate, adding that his cardinal goal is to instill reforms for most citizens. This comes on the backdrop of endless backlash from the opposition led by prominent leaders, among them Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua.
Transformation ya Kenya, askofu vile umesema, majira ndio haya, wakati ndio huu, nafasi ndio hii, miaka ndio haya ya transformation ya taifa letu la Kenya. Na kwa mapenzi ya Mungu, hiyo assignment Mungu amenipatia ya transformation ya Kenya haitachelewa tena. Musijali na wale ambao wanaongea maneno mengi. Makelele yale yanaendelea hayajaanza sasa. Hata kule wakati Nehemia alikuwa anajenga Jericho, kulikuwa na watu wa makelele kama hawa. Walikuwa wanasema hii ukuta mnajenga hii haiwezi kufanyika. Hata mbweha akirukia tu itaanguka. Ndio mmekuwa mkisikia wakiongea. So don't worry about those people. Let us not waste time focusing on people who have no plan, who have no agenda, and who have no vision. Let us focus, and I want to ask the people of Kenya, the leaders of Kenya, let us focus on the transformation of Kenya. It is happening. Our agriculture is being transformed. Our economy is undergoing transformation. Our education is undergoing transformation. Our health is undergoing transformation. Let us focus on that transformation, because that is what will determine a destiny that befits all of us. Let us ignore the naysayers. Let us ignore those who have nothing to offer to us except insults, name calling, and ethnicity. Let us focus on the future of the nation.
Wetu ambao wako kwa siasa, ambao wameanza siasa ya kugawanisha Wakenya, siasa ya kuangalia makabila. I want to tell them Nairobi has no time for that. Nairobi has no space for tribal politics.
During the same meeting, the Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja also called on the government to intervene and do something about the unscrupulous electricity connectors in the slums who are causing a lot of damage. They had visited the slum after 8 people lost their lives to a fire.
The common strand in all these fires, Your Excellency, is energy related. It is energy. Either gas, but mingi ni illegal power connections, ambazo hizo illegal power connections zinafanya kutomeke because of the substandard cables that are used and the substandard equipment. Your Excellency, tumekuwa tukiomba. Hakuna waziri wako sijaenda kwake. Hata juzi tu nimekuwa na mkutano last week na waziri Opiyo Wandayi about Komarok. These illegal connections in the city have been there. If you can't beat them, join them. Nikamwambia atafute hawa watu ambao wanauzia wananchi stima in our informal settlements. Awatafute. Tuwapunguzie tariff ya stima. Alafu tuwapatie vifaa ambavyo vinafaa wawe distributors. Otherwise, we'll have a fire each and every day. In 1 month, I remember in January I had 70 fires in 1 month. Na wananchi wakiwa hapo hawaoni, hawajui kuna moto pia kwingine. These fires will keep on going on. Madhare, there's a fire almost every 2 days. If you attend to every fire, Mheshimiwa Waziri, you will do nothing else in the Ministry of Public Service. There's no other job you will do. You will just be in Nairobi, kesho uende Mlango Kubwa, kesho kutwa uende Mukuru kwa Njenga, alafu uende Kayaba, alafu uende. Let's get something that is sustainable.
Rais wenu, rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, rais wetu ambao tunampenda, ako na moyo na serikali yake under the State Department of Special Program iko tayari kuhakikisha wale wote ambao wako katika hospitali, wale wamefiwa na familia zote anawashikilia sawa sawa. Na kama mimi waziri, I am at a very firm instruction to ensure everything runs smoothly.
We have been requesting for fire station in Kibra. Na governor anajua hiyo, there is land issue. Tunakuomba na pia na governor hapa. Every 2 weeks tuko na fire hapa Kibra. Na sometimes the fire engines zinachukua long time. Tafadhali mtuwekee fire station na tukue na fire engines na pia zikuwe na maji.
All right, let's take a look at what is happening in Kerio Valley, where learning has come to a halt in more than 20 schools across the volatile region after teachers' unions withdrew their members over rising insecurity in the region. The Kenya National Union of Teachers and the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers announced the decision following the recent killing of Catholic priest Father Alois Cheriot Bet, who was shot dead while returning from celebrating Mass in Kakitul on Thursday. John Cheberi, NAT Secretary for the Marakwet branch, and Paul Biwot, Kupet Secretary in Elgeyo Marakwet, said the situation has become too volatile for teachers, especially non-locals, who they claims are now being deliberately targeted by armed criminals and bandits. The killing of Father Bet has shaken the community and prompted a dusk to dawn curfew in parts of Kerio Valley.
For the union makes us strong.
That have declared and have told all our members in Kerio Valley, all teachers from Monday, the teachers are not going to go to school until the security of the place is taken care of. We cannot allow our teachers to go to school and die. It's better for them to sit at home and nothing and die from home than go to school and be ambushed. If the whole padre, priest can be ambushed, a man of God, what about a teacher? A teacher who teaches injustice in this country. How safe is that teacher? So we are calling upon the government to see how best they can organize for the security in Kerio Valley and anywhere from now where insecurity is going to be an issue, our teachers will be withdrawn with immediate effect without notice to the government. We are calling Teacher Service Commission to be serious when it does its work in terms of recruiting teachers who are promoted. The 25,000 teachers deserve promotion. The money is there, lying in the treasury. But because of the problem and the corruption method used in coming out with the list of 25,000 is what the parliament has now petitioned that it must be done afresh.
And by the way, talking about the Catholic priest who was killed, I'm talking about Father Alois Cheriot Bet, who was shot and killed by suspected bandits at Tot area in Kerio Valley, Elgeyo Marakwet. The county police commander, Peter Mulinge, confirmed the incident, saying the priest was on his way to a church service when the incident occurred. You know, the security agencies have now given the region 3 days to reveal who shot the priest.
Kwa nini? Why was he killed? Alifanya nini? 6 months only. Alifanya nini?
Hatuwezi kubali hapa Marakwet. Tunapambana na mambo mengine alafu nyokatamana jipka? Haiwezi. So wazee mpambane. Na vijana vile mlisema mtuletee hao wajambazi wawili watatu.
Mimi ningewaomba tu walimu wetu wote, wafanyikazi wa serikali, kila mtu mgeni mwenye ako Kerio Valley, tafadhali usiwe na wasiwasi kwamba sisi ni watu wabaya. Turudi tufanye kazi kwa pamoja na tushirikiane kwa kila jambo. Na tukiona mtu mbaya tuchukue kama ni mtu mbaya. Tusiwafiche wakora.
Deal with the situation here until we get rid of these thugs and criminals within Kerio Valley that are terrorizing our residents here. They will start with the father because he doesn't come from here. They will go for a mason because he doesn't come from here.
Wacha tuachie polisi wafanye kazi yao. Tukiweka siasa kwa maneno ya usalama itaharibika.
Father aliuawa pale mlimani. The CS cannot go to each an individual home na kuchunga kila mtu kwa nyumba yake. Na huyo aliyeua father hata saa hii hatumjui. So tusibebeshe mzigo yenye ni ya mtu mkora.
Tutamaliza, tutaangalia hiyo list ya probox. Tumeelewana? Mtupatie mwenye alipiga risasi father, na mnajua tupate leo, tupate kesho. Wazee mmesema mnataka siku 3 kweli? Kesho ni Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
I'm hoping tutapata wale wenye walihusika kwa hiyo maneno. Thursday will not be business as usual.
Father Alois needs justice to be done. Justice, haki. Afanyiwe haki. And I think the first one ni kujua ni nani aliua na ni kwa sababu gani.
We are going to guard until that time that we think the peace has been sustained in this place.
It's such a sad thing. There's a priest who was killed in Nyahururu, was buried, I think it was on Thursday. He was buried on Thursday, had been murdered by people. Nobody knew exactly the reason why. Police are investigating the situation to establish why the man was killed. Then this bandits come and shoot another a priest in this Kerio Valley region. So it's a very unfortunate region. Now, again, I can tell you this past week there are 2 preachers who were beaten up in Isli area of Nairobi. They had gone there to preach and they were beaten up thoroughly. I'm shocked that, you know, the church has not spoken about it. Security agencies have not spoken about it. But it's a case of intolerance, which we cannot allow in the country. Because it starts with one, you keep quiet. It will go to the next one, you keep quiet because you think it is not you. Then the day they come for you, there will be no one to speak because you never spoke. So we cannot allow this to happen. Now, to some strange things in Luya Nation. You know, let me tell you, Luya Nation, there's some weird stuff that happens. Now, take for instance this. Shock and more grief engulf a village in Budalangi constituency, Busia County, after a man attending a funeral collapsed and died under unclear circumstances. Now, Emmanuel Makoha, a devoted choir member who was the lead drummist during the funeral in Marenga village, collapsed just when the coffin bearing the body of the deceased was being hoisted to the grave. As Makoha was beating the drums vigorously on the graveside, he suddenly collapsed before tumbling down the very grave. The incident brought the sad ceremony to a standstill. Makoha, whose father happened to be the presiding pastor in the same funeral, was rushed to Port Victoria Sub-County Referral Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. While church members described his death as part of God's timing, citing Ecclesiastes 3, that there is a time for everything, local Bunyala elders attributed the death to cultural retribution. You know, it's a very unfortunate incident. This man died like that. The rumors, you know, I was told by my friends from Luya and Luo Nation, nobody just dies. You don't, you died. No. Every death in that area is caused. So now one of the things that some of the locals are saying, those elders, they are saying that this gentleman may have been having an affair with the wife of the deceased. And that's the reason why when the deceased alimfikia akienda kuweka kwa shimo akasema, siendi peke yangu. So that's the narrative that is going down in that area. So it's a strange phenomenon. It's a strange situation. But let's see what happens anyway. Only God knows. Now, every Monday, I'd like to play your testimony. All right? Death is something that happens to everybody, that will happen to everybody, apart from those who will be alive when Jesus Christ comes, because they will not taste death. And one of the ways that you make sure that by the time you die, you're ready to meet your Maker is by giving your life to Christ Jesus, right? And so I want to play you a testimony of a man who met Christ and how his life got transformed. Watch this.
I was 6 or 7 years old, and it was a very hush-hush thing. Nobody wanted to talk about it. What happens after you die? We weren't even allowed to go to the funeral. And I remember asking...
All right, let's take a look at the papers. We start off with the Daily Nation. Daily Nation, the highlights or the headline screams out, high varsity fees ruining our lives. And these are thousands of university students placed in categories that require them to pay hefty fees with minimal government subsidy and a new funding model have petitioned authorities for review. But as they wait their fate, the most desperate are being forced to drop out of college and others barred from sitting the exams because of mounting fees arrears. And you have pictures of a number of them there. Then there was an investigative that was done by the NTV about a gentleman who calls himself Prophet David Minor. But this guy is an interesting chap. He oversees the operation of a media house called Yahweh Media Services Limited, which officially is spreading the gospel through multiple television stations, except the fact it's a gospel of greed. This is what the Nation says. And it's leaving a trail of bitter victims. Now what's happening, this guy, instead of preaching the gospel, he does what you call gambling, betting. And in the Nation it said sacred swindle, the gospel of greed on Kenyan airwaves. Now these are the individuals who are giving the gospel a bad name. Because you watch the video, it's rather obvious that people are being conned. People give 50 shillings, 100 shillings, 20 shillings. You know, it's always good we come out straight. And you're told you're going to win, but you'll never win. The only person who wins is him. So this is a gospel of greed. And unfortunately, this, Paul says, I tell you even with tears, that some among us have become enemies of the cross. Reason, their God is their belly. And this is an unfortunate situation of the same. He's been taking advantage of people and swindling them off money through betting. It gives our kingdom a bad name. Anyway, state bid to snoop on internet users. Aye. New sanctions and software tools to snoop and hack accounts of internet subscribers and SIM card users await Kenyans or anybody residing in the country if a proposed law is enacted. The Kenya Information Communication Act Amendment Bill 2025, if passed by the National Assembly and signed into law as published, will be the most draconian and intrusive law against the right to privacy and freedom of speech expressed and dissemination through electronic means. The bill, sponsored by Aldai MP Marian Kitani and currently before the National Assembly, seeks to give the Information Cabinet Secretary sweeping powers to monitor and demand certain information from internet service providers, telecommunication companies, and cyber operators. The bill proposed to amend various sections of Kenya Information Communication Act with the implication of intrusion into the mandates of the Media Council of Kenya and in the process weakening its power over regulation of broadcast content by creating another layer of surveillance. Why is she so afraid of what is being said? You know, that's one of the questions you ask. What ill are you trying to cure? Because you're intruding into other people's lives. And unfortunately, you know, this is so shallow-minded because once you're out of power, the same thing will be used against you. Anyway, senators target 3 Ruto ministers accused of impunity. Guess who they are? John Badi. Hey. In the National Assembly, Badi used to cause a lot of ruckus when CSs don't appear. Now, he's doing the very same thing. Then you have Land CS Alice Wahome and Trade CS Lee Kenyanjui. Hey. And then you have a story here concerning Haiti and why our security forces are in Haiti. It says Whitman was behind Haiti deal. Retired United States envoy to Haiti, Daniel Fute, has previously made controversial claims about Kenya's mission. You need to read that story. It's pretty interesting. Then you turn to the back page. You have police bullets shift focus to CAF Champions League. And they're not talking about real bullets. Lest you start saying, hey, wameanza kuchapa risasi watu wa Champions League. You need to hook up with Akina Mike, Akina Manu today at 2 p.m. On the scoreboard. They will tell you what this is all about. And then there's the Kenyan hammer throwers is believing big and living big as we head to Tokyo. Then the Standard newspaper, which has become one of the most critical newspapers against the government. And then it says, plot to stalk Kenyans. And this is what they say. For the upteenth time, the Ruto administration is once again pushing to amend information laws through a private member bill that would grant sweeping powers to monitor, trace, and target Kenyans online. If passed, the legislation will give the state unprecedented access to digital platforms, raising fears of a crackdown on dissent and increased surveillance on government critics, especially in the wake of last year's Gen Z protests. Experts warn the timing points to a calculated attempt to mute online activism ahead of the 2027 general election. There's a girl, a 14-year-old girl who's vanished while in police custody. You know, it's just good we live in the days of grace. If it was in the days of the law, even the police officers who are responsible for this, their daughters would disappear until they present this girl. Because what kind of torment are you putting the parents of this 14-year-old girl? And what did you do to them? Wacha kwanza niangalie in police station gani. This is Naivasha. A family in Naivasha is engulfed in anguish and confusion following the mysterious disappearance of their 14-year-old daughter, Lynette Manotti, who shockingly vanished while in police custody. How? Kwanza, she disappeared last year in September. Then crisis looms as Treasury delays release of 6 billion exam allocation. Now there are talks that the government is stopping to pay exams for students. A trend that was started, I think, during Kenyatta's period, where parents were told the government will cater for the exams of all students. You don't pay. One of my daughters went through university during Kenyatta's term, and let me tell you, the government was bearing the subsidy, and the most we were paying was almost around 14,000 shillings, and the rest is catered for by the government. And quite a number of people went through university because of that. Right now, you have to pay almost 130 or 145,000 shillings for more or less the same cost that they went through. So now, if the government stops paying exam fees for some of the primary students, can you imagine what is going to happen? Their children were not going to sit exams because their parents cannot afford. Wacha hiyo izame kwanza. Then you have why Gachagwa's break from power is good for Kenya and deserves a hearing. ICT experts, activists warn new bill is a plot to snoop on Kenyans online. IEBC vetting halted amid Senate pushback. Samia crackdown on East African citizen, EAC citizen, curtails freedoms and democracy. There's no democracy in TZ. Hakuna democracy. If you want to know, just go and criticize the president of Tanzania. Then you'll know how democratic they are. There's no democracy there. That's why we have to defend the democracy in this country. Because Kenya is the only democratic country within the entire East African region. You cannot say anything critical against Kagame. Try and do the same to Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni. Try and do that in South Sudan. Rwanda, Burundi, DRC. Shivane. If you try and do anything of the sort, the kind of freedoms we enjoy in Kenya, if you dare, that's why Akina Martha Karua were kicked out of TZ. Because in Tanzania, this kind of freedom does not exist. You touch mama, you disappear. Tundu Lissu was actually shot almost 8 times as an opposition leader during Magufuli's time. And you know how Magufuli looked like a very clean, nice guy. 8 times. He was here at Nairobi Hospital. Now, Suluhu has stopped the party from vying, and then has arrested the guy, and they're claiming treason. We ought to count our blessings as Kenyans. From boardroom to battlefield, how how Lusaka has found his political role. Kwani Lusaka has moved. He was the quiet man in the room, expected to navigate political currents with a soft touch. Yeah, this is an interesting read. Very interesting read. The back page of the Star with EPL race over, now what next? Read to find out. At least utumie school fees. The Star newspaper, migrants tap informal jobs as youth lose opportunities. Some 8.4% of Kenyans aged 18 to 24 are jobless. And migrants are the ones who are taking up the informal jobs. NCIC summons Gachagua, 10 others on hate speech watch. This NCIC thing is the most toothless bulldog I've ever seen. This thing should just be given a lollipop. That's all it can chew on. Ruto, ignore planless Gachagua and opposition. Migrants tap. You know, majority of the barber shops are either run by people from DRC, Burundi and DRC. Majority of people who are selling tea, hawking coffee, are from Burundi. Majority of beggars are from Tanzania. So we've opened our borders, and it's good. We are brothers keepers. That's as far as I'm going to say. The Star also has that story of state to spy on your online activities. NCIC summons Gachagua. State seeks help to fix dilapidated embassies. And Gor reaches the final. Kaboom! Tumemaliza namna hiyo. Let me put that thing behind my ear. You know, we have a beautiful country. Let me tell you the truth. We have an amazing country. If you start driving from here headed towards Western and you use, you know, the different places, Kericho, you will find amazing places, beautiful sceneries. There's even, I was being told yesterday, there's even a national park in Migori. Did you know that? There's a national park in Migori. And then there's another one in Mount Elgon. We're never told these things. Beautiful places where, you know, tourists can even come, go visit. They are very, very beautiful beaches that you can go to. Not in Mombasa, by the way. Not in Mombasa. You start going towards Luo Nyanza and you get very, very, the Rusinga Islands, uko karibu uko. We have a very beautiful country. We have so many things to thank God for. So many things. Forget, politicians are the noise makers of this country. They make us see as though there is nothing good in this country because all they do is steal. But this country is beautiful. We have been endowed with a beautiful country. Wonderful resources. Beautiful people. Very, very beautiful people. When I say people, just remove politicians and put them aside. We have very beautiful people. This country is the most amazing country you can ever live in. As people are running away from this country and going for greener pastures in Western countries, Muzungus are getting away from their countries and coming to Kenya to settle because they see the opportunities. So this is an amazing country, a beautiful country. And I can give you evidence of just how beautiful this country is. Go and stand before a mirror and look at the image that is there. Such a beautiful creature. And that creature lives in Kenya. Do have yourself a lovely day. Remember, at around 11:30, we are going to have Gatuzi. And then at 2 p.m., we have the scoreboard. You will know exactly what is happening in this country. Do have yourself a lovely day.